Thank you very much. Unfortunately, the offering's already spoken for tonight, so I'm here to help with that. I want to thank Aaron very much for the invitation to be here and for the opportunity with the Digital Drive Initiative and the Digital Playbook to see how we can continue to move this forward. It is a real honor to work with Sly James. They always make me talk after him, and just once I want to talk before him because he's a tough act to follow. And I am a little concerned about your popularity slipping, though. I think your last election was only 89%. Is that right? And so I think you need 87. So yeah, you're slipping a little bit. So I haven't met the 13% that don't like Mayor Sly James, but when I do, I'm going to take them out to coffee. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, it's a privilege to work with someone who gets urban issues and looks at the digital divide as something that we can take on and has a positive attitude. Both of our cities in Kansas City, Kansas and Kansas City, Missouri have significant challenges, and both of us are committed not to being defined by the challenges that we have, but that the opportunities that we have. I'll give you a real brief snapshot. In 1950, Kansas City, Kansas was the largest city in Kansas. By 1960, we had 185,000 people. From 1960 to 2000, we had 60,000 white people move out of Kansas City, Kansas. 1/3 of the population, just think about that number for a minute, 1/3 of the population, and 30,000 people of other ethnicities move in. So we went from 20% above the median household income to 20% below the median household income. Is that my time's up? That's like I've been thrown off the stage before, but never with that. Usually there's a gong or something that goes off. But going from 20% above the median household income to 20% below, and becoming first and last in a lot of the wrong categories in the state of Kansas and in the region. But the good news about that is now we have the most diverse city in the nation. Only Broward County, Florida, has the same level of diversity of Kansas City, Kansas, because we have, I'm just going to keep talking. Look, I have kids crying in the service usually, so I'm used to it. Broward County and Kansas City, Kansas have a population where the three major ethnic groups are all above 25%. We're 40% white, 28% black, or Hispanic, and 25% black. So a remarkable level of diversity, which in 1960 was considered a negative, but in this day and age is considered a great positive because we have the kind of diversity that young people want to be a part of, and is a great place from which to grow a new city. So the diversity that we have is our greatest strength. It also leaves us with a legacy of some negatives. The biggest negative is that you have 30,000 fewer people in the city. Picture 30,000 fewer people. That's 10,000 empty homes. And 10,000 empty homes begin to collapse. And we now own 6,000 empty lots. And in fact, if you will agree to mow it, I will give it to you tonight. You just pick which one you want and we'll give it to you. But managing the decline in a city gives us an opportunity when we think about rebuilding the infrastructure of a city. The major decision was made in Kansas City, Kansas in 1997 to unify the government. And of course, the story of the unification of the government and the success that it's had under Carol Marinovich and Joe Reardon is well documented. And it's put us in a position where we can uniquely take advantage of the opportunities of the digital drive in a way that we could not have 20 years ago. If the opportunity with Google Fiber had come 20 years ago, the city would have been in no condition, and really the government would not have been in any position to be able to take advantage of it. And it's because of 20 years of stable leadership at the unified government, 20 years of growth in our community, and I don't know, you can quantify the dollars and cents about how much we've grown in the last 20 years, because since 2010, we've had the first net gain in population in 50 years. If you quantify the numbers, it's very impressive. But how do you quantify morale? How do you quantify a community that feels good about itself and is ready to move forward and ready to take on the challenges? When I think about, we still have 25, and it's a hard number. In fact, I was talking to Joe Reardon about if we have an accurate number about how many people are without high-speed internet in our city. It's somewhere between 25 and 40% is our best estimate. But without access to that basic infrastructure, it's like electricity and water was 50 and 75 years ago. If you don't have access to the basic infrastructure of high-speed internet, the opportunities for education, the opportunities to fill out a job application, the opportunities for telemedicine that we just heard about today, the access issues that the technology offers for everyone in leveling the playing field is remarkable. If you've started a small business or are a pastor of a small church, if any of you are, You know that your website is a real equalizer, isn't it? Because you have an impressive website. People don't know if there's 10,000 in your church or 100. But you can go out and the web can equalize the access that people have to you and that you have to other people. The web is a huge piece that we have to tap into in our community. I have 3 priorities in my city, and then I'll sit down before the music goes off again. Economic development, innovation, and healthy communities. Economic development is critical, and not just bringing in new jobs. And actually, Kansas City, Kansas produced 30% of all new jobs created in the state of Kansas last year. But we've also got to connect our citizens to those jobs because we still have the highest unemployment. The digital connection is an opportunity for us through job training and education to connect our citizens to the great jobs that we have in Kansas City, Kansas. Because I want to remove the trivia question, which is why is Kansas City, Kansas one of the leaders in the state in earned wage, but the lowest in earned income? And it's because the folks who have the great jobs aren't living in our city. And we've got to bridge that divide, and the technology uniquely has the ability to help us to do that. That's economic development. From innovation, we just opened OpenGov portal, which is the most access to our budget that you've ever seen. You can see 10 years of trends in the budget of the unified government. And we've just opened the first stages of it. There's more and more that you can do with OpenGov. But that innovation of organizing our city, we're getting ready to hire our first chief information officer in Kansas City, Kansas, and moving our whole city forward with innovation. But let me give you an example of fiber and what it can do. We just had a fire study. We just commissioned a $200,000 study of our fire operations. And one of the things that's needed is continued in-service. If we have Google Fiber in each of our firehouses, we can do live video meetings and teaching for the in-service training of our firefighters in the firehouse through Google Fiber without taking people out of the station or out of service. It is, after all, called in-service training, right? We can keep people in service and do the training and leverage the technology to do it. There are an infinite number of ways that the city can be better at what we're doing because of the digital playbook and the digital drive and the partners that we have around us that can help us make it happen. Finally, healthy communities. Wyandotte County, for all the success that we've had, we still struggle with having the poorest health outcomes in the state. Under Joe Reardon, myself, and 2 other commissioners at the time took on that firsthand and said, we're going to move the needle on healthy communities and what's happening. The #1 correlate, and Commissioner McKiernan has run all the numbers. Professor McKiernan has run all the numbers. The #1 correlate is poverty. If you can address poverty, you can address the health outcomes in your community. We can address poverty through the digital drive, through job creation, through education, through job training. It is a pathway to our success. You're being here tonight to help with this fundraiser. To help keep this initiative moving forward is critically important. And not only what you give tonight, but also going back to your companies and your group to tell them the importance of this initiative and the need to continue to fund it. Because Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri together as a region have a unique opportunity to be first in the nation in Google Fiber. The first in the nation to put together a digital drive and a digital playbook. We are the ones who have the opportunity to lead the nation. If we're going to continue that leadership, we're going to need the investment of the entire civic community to come together and to recognize the opportunity that we have and to recognize the need to continue to fund it and continue to move it forward. That's backup right there. If that doesn't augment the offering, I don't know what will. So the music didn't stop me, but when the thunder starts, that's when it's my signal from the one above that I'm ready to step down. But I do want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank you for your investment in the digital initiatives that we're working on. All of the partners, Ray Daniels and KCK, for all of your work on the ground from day one. Mike Burke, you guys have been terrific in co-chairing this in the Bi-State Initiative. Aaron Deacon and all of those, and my table of Wyandotte right here. Woo, woo. All right. Anyway, thank you all very much for being here.